that's this evening. Today we're hosting just one of the many town hall meetings happening all over the country in an effort to prevent underage drinking. My name is Rosalie Johnson.
And my name is Vanessa Martinez. We're Corcoran High School seniors and peer educators from the California Health Collaborative Teen Empowerment and Education Network, or Teen Network for short. Can the other peer educators please stand up? Can we give them a round of applause? So today we will be hearing from the Superintendent, Mr. Rich Merlot, Deputy Chief Harry Kramer, and City Council Member, Mr. Megan Lerma. Before we get into our presentation, let's first have a word from our Superintendent, Mr. Merlot.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, and thank you for putting this together. This is an extremely important subject, and I appreciate the fact there is a concentrated effort to do something about what is, in some people's eyes, not such a big problem, but it's a huge problem. And just a few comments I have in terms of my thoughts about my approach to any kind of substance abuse, especially at a young age, any kind of inappropriate use of using a substance such as alcohol, is I don't look at it from a right and wrong perspective, even though there is a right and wrong, there is a moral choice in the process. But I look at it as more of a life and death. And when you think about all the things that drinking does at an early age, and the whole culture behind it, and the kind of habits, and what it does to you physically, emotionally, and spiritually, your whole being, it's amazing what it does, especially for a young person, how it sets the course for their life, and it can create either a life bent on destruction or a life bent on more life. And I think of it as this. When I was a young man, I was very blessed to be in a home where I was taught those principles. I came from a very strong Italian family. They had wine and beer at the table. And my dad would even say, hey, have a drink or so. You know, but I never really developed a taste for it, nor did I develop a desire to go out and drink with my friends. Because of one reason, because I knew that I had something better. And I think that's the whole point of education and the point of what we want to give to people. We want to give them an alternative. Alcohol presents, especially at a young age, it presents a temptation, and it presents this era and this mystique that it's going to improve your life, improve your feeling, and even improve what your peers think about you. And so, but there's something better, and it's called life, and it's called goals, and it's called fulfillment. And I think of it as, do we want to be dream makers or dream takers? And alcohol and making those choices that really can create that path change in our life towards destruction, or do we want to give people the alternative to say, hey, life is much better than this. Life is better than alcohol. Life is better than having a decision that you make you can kill people or kill yourself or hurt yourself in the long run. It's not a coincidence right now that we have every 15 minutes in high school. And one of the reasons that message is so powerful is because it really does involve the idea of lives have been taken because people have made bad choices, use alcohol, use it in the most inappropriate way you can use it. So with that, I just want to leave those thoughts with you that we're dream makers. In education, we want to give people the opportunity and the idea and really put that carrot out there that life is much better than choosing these alternatives other people have taken, that we don't have to live that way, that we can have a great life. I just share with you real quick that I had a dream in my life. I had goals. I was a young athlete. I was a good student, and I really wanted to continue my education. I wanted to continue my opportunity to play football at a higher level. By the grace of God and by making some good choices, I was able to get a scholarship at Stanford University, had a great career as a football player, and had a great education, was able to give back to the community. So thank you very much. Have a great time this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Merlot. Can we please have a round of applause?
Oh.
Okay, now let's get into the first part of our presentation. Alcohol is the drug of choice among America's adolescents and is used more by people than tobacco or illicit drugs. When you combine teen issues such as relationships, school, and family matters with alcohol, it can sometimes result in poor decisions and deadly consequences, as you will see in the following video.
We're going to play a game that will illustrate what can happen because of the choices we might make, even if we never intended them outcomes. Here are the directions. Each seat is numbered 1 through 30. If we call your number, please take the card that has been taped under your seat to your left side. Stand up and please read it to the group. You will all help us tell a story. Number 25, please take the card and read it out loud.
My child informed me about a party and I still gave them the keys to drive my car.
Okay, now number 3.
My friends invited me to a party, but I decided to stay home. Number 14.
I was only buzzed, but decided to drive my friends home anyway.
Number 19.
3 houses down, I ran a stop sign and crashed into another car, killing 3 people, my best friend, and 4 passengers in the other car. I lived.
Number 7.
Senior graduation was today. Many people cried as the 7 people who had passed away were recognized. It all happened because I decided to drink alcohol at a party and drive over there.
Thank you to those who read. Chief Deputy Gary Kramer, if you are ready, we'd like to have a word from you, and then followed by Mr. Martin.
Good evening. My name is Gary Kramer, and I am the Deputy Chief of Police for the Corcoran Police Department. And it's my pleasure to be here today and share a few words with you. When I was told that we're going to have a little gathering and we wanted to talk about underage drinking, I started thinking, what is the problem? What's the problem with underage drinking? Well, I found a few stats, and according to the stats that I read, it says that 25% of underage people between the ages of 13 and 20 admit to drinking alcohol in the last 30 days. So that's 1 out of every 4 is illegally consuming alcohol in 30 days. Beyond that, 20% of those admit to using other illegal narcotics within 2 hours of consuming alcohol. When I read those stats, I started thinking about a little personal story. I have a nephew who was a great kid, and unfortunately in high school he started attending some parties and he started consuming alcohol. By the time he was a junior, he was popping pills. Apparently, pill popping was pretty popular at the school he went to. And before you knew it, he was addicted to pain medications, pain pills. Nobody knew it at the time, but that progressed, and today my nephew is 23 years old, and my nephew is a 23-year-old jobless, carless, suspended license heroin addict. He spends his day trying to figure out how to steal from one of our family members, one of his friends, in order to get his next hit. That's the problem. Therein lies the problem. Consuming alcohol as an underage person has many consequences that often go unseen. And often we don't realize, particularly when we're underage and we're the ones consuming. Sometimes we think it's fun and it's a thrill. It's what everybody's doing, and I understand that. But In my 20 years of law enforcement, I've been to many juvenile parties. And every time I go to a juvenile party, I just look around and I think about how many young lives are going to be wasted and lost, much like my nephew. And when I go to these parties, they're disgusting. I can't tell you how many times I've been to juvenile parties and I've seen multiple people tossed into a bathtub and they're throwing up on each other, they're peeing on each other. They've completely lost all control. But the party must go on, right? So we don't take care of them. We just shove them off into a bathroom. I've seen that many, many times. These underage drinking parties, oftentimes it leads to other risky behaviors, unwanted sex. Sometimes at the moment, maybe it appears that it's the thing to do, but oftentimes people wake up the next morning and they're ashamed and they're embarrassed of what they've done. And I've even seen incidents like that turn into rape charges and people ruining their life and going to prison over rape charges. And they might have thought it was consensual, but the bottom line is, once somebody's intoxicated to the point that they don't understand what is going on, they no longer have the ability to consent, and therefore it becomes rape. And I've seen a lot of young lives lost and ruined. And we're in the social media age. So now when you're at a juvenile party or when you're out drinking, it doesn't have to be a big party, it can be 3 or 4 friends. We know that whatever happens, right? Vegas says whatever happens stays in Vegas, right? The motto amongst teens now is whatever happens ends up on Facebook in 3 seconds, right? And that's videos, that's pictures, embarrassing things that you don't want to see and wake up to the next morning. You know, I was asked to share a particular story, and there are so many stories that are similar. This thing really working. All right. There are so many stories that are similar. You know, underage drinking is underage drinking. People get drunk, they fall over, they have sex when they don't want to, fights end up happening, they start stealing stuff, vandalizing stuff, they start throwing up, it gets disgusting, it's ugly, it's not pretty. Those are kind of routine stories, right? We see those things, unfortunately, way too often. But it made me think of one story. There was a young man named Daniel Flannel. He had just turned 18 about a month prior to me becoming involved with him. I didn't know this guy, I'd never met him before. Young Daniel Flannel. He was hanging out one night with his friends, and I believe this was 2006. He was hanging out with his friends at a friend's apartment. Mom was gone, and they were drinking some alcohol, and they had met a few girls the day before the football game, and they invited those girls over. And so a couple of girls came over. His friend that he was at, the apartment they were at, he was a 17-year-old. The girls that came over were 14-year-olds. Well, they continued to drink. All of them were drinking together. Daniel convinced one of the young 14-year-old girls to go outside and walk around. They walked around the apartment complex for a while. You know, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. Daniel found a vehicle that had the window rolled partially down, so he reached in and he unlocked the vehicle, opened up the other side. They both sat down. They started talking. Seemed innocent enough, right? They're drunk. What's the harm in opening the vehicle and sitting down and talking for a while? Well, the next thing you know, Daniel's scavenging through the glove box and everything he can find in there. He finds a box cutter within this vehicle. And so he takes the box cutter and he starts cutting the headliner of the vehicle, starts cutting the seats and the arms, vandalizing this vehicle for no reason. Then he asked the 14-year-old girl to play tic-tac-toe, and they start playing tic-tac-toe with the box cutter on the headliner. And then Daniel explains to her that he's trained in martial arts. And you know, MMA and UFC is really cool, it's really popular. He told her that he knew how to choke people out. He wanted to show her how to choke somebody out because it might help her later in life. She might be defenseless. So he starts to demonstrate this chokehold and how he knows how to make somebody pass out. The next thing that this young 14-year-old girl remembers is waking up with Daniel Flannel raping her, beating her face, and slicing her neck with the box cutter he found in the car. She goes in and out of consciousness a couple of times. She tries to fight when she comes to, and she scratches him. and tries to fight her. She continues to lose consciousness, continues to beat her, stab her, slice her, punch her. And eventually he leaves the car. I truly believe to this day, the only reason he left the car at that moment is he believed she was dead. And that is her statement when we introduced. She believed, he thought that she was dead. And so he left. She is ultimately able to get enough power to get out of the car, climb out of the car, only half dressed. She stumbles to the apartment, knocks on the door, and she literally has to gurgle, "I need help." That's how bad the condition she is. Luckily, help gets there. They airlift her to Fresno, rush her into emergency surgery. The positive part about this story is she is still alive today. But he had slashed her so bad that she had a slashed trachea and a slashed jugular vein. How she lived is truly a miracle. And I tell you the story, not to say what Daniel Flanham did is to be blamed on alcohol, because I don't know, maybe Daniel Flanham was just an evil beast, and maybe he would have done that whether he would have drank or not. I don't know. But what I do know is there's a possibility that this young, bright 14-year-old girl, had she not been drinking, she would not have been walking around the apartment complex with this young man at 1 o'clock in the morning, and she would not have been hiding inside of that apartment on 2 occasions when her dad came there looking for her. She regrets every second of not answering the door and going with her dad as he came to get her. And that's what I do know. Daniel may be an evil beast, but that young girl didn't deserve that, and I think she would have made better decisions had she not been consuming alcohol. You know, and unfortunately, I think sometimes parents, and I wish there were more parents in the room, but you guys can share this with your parents when you get home, but you know, sometimes parents see it as a rite of passage. Our kids are getting older, they're 17, they're 16, what's wrong with having a beer? And they kind of see it as a rite of passage, but I see it as a rite of allowing them to destroy their lives. I've seen too many lives destroyed. Not just my nephew, not just Daniel Flanham, and not the young girl who got her throat slit, but I've seen life after life destroyed because of alcohol in so many different ways. And so it's not a rite of passage. And I looked up something, according to MADD, Mothers Against Drug Dragging, their research shows that teens whose parents communicate that underage drinking is completely unacceptable are 80% less likely to consume alcohol than teens who receive any other message. The message from parents must be it's completely unacceptable. Any other message increases the risk and the likelihood that they will consume. I hope that you guys all take something from this. I appreciate it. I thank you for the opportunity to come and talk to you. And I think it's amazing that not only the students but the parents actually take this problem seriously. I think that's a great start. Programs like this, we have every 15 minutes going on this week at the high school. These are outstanding programs. Thank you for taking this problem seriously.
Thank you, Deputy Kramer and Mr. Lambert.
Good evening. My name is Raymond Lemma. I've been a teacher here at Corcoran for 37 years, and I've been on City Council for 20 years. First of all, let me commend you. I'd like to commend all the adults here as well as young people that are here that take the time to educate yourselves and educate the community about this really serious problem that we had for years. I grew up in Corcoran, graduated Corcoran High School in 1971. And the sad part about it, I see some kids that had a lot of potential that I grew up with. Most of those kids, most of those guys that looked the coolest when I was in high school and John Muir, smoked, drank, some of them drove cars. Most of those guys are either dead, in prison, or riding bikes, living in parks. They had so much potential. They looked like the coolest guys back then. And some of those guys, you see them, guys have been my classmates. See them with missing teeth, barely recognizing. I saw one the other day in the front page of the Hammer Sentinel, sprawled out on Bell Avenue under the influence of heroin. And that kid had a lot of potential. Wasn't a dumb kid. Just made some bad choices. So I'm glad that you're here because we need to get involved with the schools. And a lot of you guys are doing that already. But make sure you involve yourselves, first of all, yourself. Because you can only control yourself. You can only educate yourself about this issue with underage drinking. But you can also influence others, your younger brothers and sisters, sometimes your parents. So again, I want to commend you for that. Get involved with clubs, like you have this club here, this group here, and also get involved with clubs. That's why I'm a big proponent of clubs and organizations in schools, because we think kids that are sitting on the fence, and sometimes those kids just need somebody to help them. And they get involved with Meta or student voice. It doesn't really matter what it is, but they belong because they feel like there's a sense of belonging. Because a lot of those kids, if you don't do anything about it, they're going to wind up in the streets. And a lot of them often do, and they get lost. Because somebody's going to pick them up. And there's always going to be somebody that drinks, somebody that does drugs, because they're always looking for new clients. So again, I want to commend you for what you're doing. One of the issues that we need to address are family parties. It's that old, it would happen when I was a kid, and I'm sure it's happening now. I just talked to some kids right now at an after-school tutorial program, and they think it's all right. In fact, they think it's wrong that they can't drink, even though they're underage. Mom and dad allow it. Sometimes mom goes buys it, or they go find their own buyers. The boys drink with dad. It's okay for dad to drink with them. Take a shot of tequila, take some beer. And that unfortunately leads to other stuff. And those kids don't even realize the danger they're in. They think they're doing the right thing. And now the mom can't control them. She's asking for help to get them tested. What can I do? And it's very difficult to educate that family like that because they're already in the system. It's very difficult to break that chain. That's what underage drinking does to Corcoran. I've seen it many, many times. So what are the solutions? One solution I know a lot of the seniors are involved with, and some of the parents are sober grad. That's just one night. It's got to be sober grad forever, not just sober grad for that graduation night because you want to prevent another accident or underage drinking. We have to do more with intervention programs. I know that we get involved with the RAC and the YMCA and sports and clubs, but hopefully take that next step. Go out there and coach that team, help coach that little baseball team. Those kids need your leadership. Because if we don't step up and do anything about it, I can guarantee you can have some problems, more casualties. And it affects all families, and it's no way of getting around it, but we have to step up and do something about it. So hopefully, I think, I want to commend you. Hopefully this will be the beginning of a lot of meetings where you would also educate the parents, educate the community, educate yourselves, educate your fellow students, because it's a very difficult age that you guys are growing up in. There's a lot of peer pressure. A lot of us say, oh, no, it's not going to happen to me. But then you go to a party and all your friends and all your relatives and your boyfriend, girlfriend put that pressure. And before you realize it, you don't know what's happening to you. Because, a lot of us have been there. A lot of us, believe it or not, we have the experience that we've been there before. And I had to make a choice. Do I hang around with this person? Are these people my friends? Or are they not my friends? And I had to cut them loose because they were not my friends. You can't be a successful teacher. You can't be a successful council member. Or what kind of role model are you if your friends come and pick you up and then you wind up getting busted? You lose all your credibility. So a lot of those guys have said, no. You can get off the car, you want to drink a beer, get off the car and drink beer, but I'm not going to go with you. So, you have to make those kind of choices. And you have to decide, for you, for your community, and hopefully you'll step up and make a difference. Thank you very much.
In the back of the room over here, you will see two posters. One is labeled Parents and one is labeled Youth. Parents, by signing this pledge, you are promising not to contribute to the distribution of alcohol to minors. Please discourage us not to drink. If you have talked to us about the consequences of underage drinking, you may have an indirect influence on our alcohol youth. Please talk to us. We hear you.
Youth, by signing this pledge, you are promising to not drink under the age of 21 or get into a car with someone who has been drinking. You will make choices. Signing this pledge will help you make the healthiest one. Alcohol use can damage your life in the blink of an eye. So take the time to celebrate your life in a healthy way. Your pledge will be showcased at our local high school. In recognition of Deputy Chief Gary Kramer and City Council Member Mr. Raymond Lerma, we would like to present to you a certificate in honor of your dedication and commitment to our community and for your involvement in today's town hall meeting.
Thank you.
If you have any questions, please feel free to ask any of the peer educators. Okay. The meeting is now coming to an end, so please feel free to help yourself to refreshments and food. And don't forget to sign. Have a good evening.